Be your own superhero. Hi, I'm Anne-Margaret with this week's Sacred Sunday message to raise the vibration of your body, mind, and spirit. So I wore this t-shirt today. I hope you can read what it says on it. It says, "She needed a hero, so that's what she became." It's an amazing quote. This was gifted to me by one of my dear pseudo sisters, Zia Nix. So shout out to you, dear one. I love you so much. She gave this to me last time I saw her, and the little image of the superhero girl that was in that was given by one of our teachers from the Giving Tree, Melissa Trinidad. So shout out to those two women this morning. So today's talk is about, we have this theme this weekend where we're remembering our loved ones that were lost in 9/11, remembering the tragic events of that time, but can we go beyond reflection and utilize that memory of what happened and all of those very brave people who endured that and also even went into the building as it was burning to help save people? Rather than just remembering it, can we use it as an incentive to fully live our lives and really embody our purpose? Because we are here to courageously live this life. And it takes that heroic archetype, it takes that inner hero or heroine within us to be able to courageously face our fears, do things that we are worried about how we're going to look or how we're going to be perceived. That is that heroic archetype. If we can step into that, then we're going to be more embodying this brilliant potential that each one of us has. So thanks so much for joining me this morning. I'm seeing a lot of you pop on right now, so hello. So let me just say, our world has really changed since 9/11, and it's been 20 years. I can't believe it's been 20 years. I remember that day in New York City like it was yesterday, and we talk about heroes, and I think too often we kind of refer to people as heroes as sort of like just anyone who's doing something that we're afraid to do. And that's okay, right? There's nothing wrong with that. There are so many people who have been so brave, especially in the last year and a half, of doing things that we would have been afraid to do. But I think that it's almost like we have this, I would say we have this pattern that we are projecting this this boldness onto other people, almost as a way to kind of let ourselves off the hook. Like, oh, good job. I think it was, oh my gosh, it was Bill Maher who said, with everything that was happening in Afghanistan, that every community should be accepting these refugees into your homes and communities. And then he said, and then everybody clapped, when they heard him say that. And he said, now I know all of you just thought, yes, everybody should, who's not me. Now, we use this, I think we use this, and stay with me here, like give me a second to kind of get this out, that I think we use calling people heroes sometimes as a way to sort of like kind of bypass this archetype in our lives, seeing it almost like this extra credit, like optional aspect to our human existence, to really go above and beyond what's normal or what is possible for us in our lives. But can we instead utilize all of our obsession with this industry of Marvel comic movies, where we are obsessed with superheroes, where I couldn't even believe, I looked this up, that the top 10 Marvel movies or the superhero movies have grossed more than $15 billion. Just the top 10 movies, and we know how many there are out there, right? So what is this? I mean, I feel like, what is this obsession that we have with superheroes? I feel like there's something in there where we, the audience in watching this, they get to see people do superhuman things, right? Superhuman, meaning like more than human, like something that defies human. But are we missing our potential, our human potential, by obsessing over these kind of superhuman skills and missing the importance of how much strength it takes to apologize or to speak up for yourself or to express an unpopular point of view? And I think right now in our society and what we're looking at is this self-crippling belief system that we don't have what it takes. Let it be somebody else to stand up for injustice. Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And that we should not be following unjust laws. It's our duty to defy, to break them. And he's famous for doing that. And what kind of difference did he make? Did Gandhi make? Now, in our own lives, we create laws. We create laws in our own brain about what we can and can't do. We have our government right now creating laws that are unconstitutional. And that's not my opinion. It actually is. It's just black and white. It's unconstitutional if you look into the Constitution and you know what it says. So what do we do in the face of that? And some of us might completely be on board with what's being created right now, what's being mandated right now, and some of us may be completely against it. But I want you to go away from the macrocosmic kind of busyness of the polarization of opposites, of the divisiveness that's happening right now in our world. And I want you to go inside and ask yourself, well, what kind of laws have I made about myself or other people, my family, my spouse, what's possible in this world? And how might those laws might be keeping me in a box, might be limiting the freedom for me to be who I am, truly embody my purpose. And that's going to take some courage. Because there's nothing more comfy than a little comfort zone, right? What you already know, which you already have experienced. And the heroic archetype, how we can be our own hero, is look at those things that scare us. Look at what kind of comfort zones that we're maintaining and why. What are we afraid of? Are we afraid of dying? Hey, here's a news flash. We're all going to die. We're all going to die. But how are you living? Are you living with that freedom, with that heroic archetype within you, to face your fear, to have those difficult conversations, to perhaps leave the cozy comfort of your safe and secure job, to say, you know what, I hear something else that's calling me. There's something else that I'm here to do. There is a cause that I feel my heart being pulled to that not necessarily is going to make me a ton of money, but it doesn't matter. It's going to fill up other cups of wealth in my life, making a difference, doing what I'm here to do, feeling like you can finally stop feeling that tap on your shoulder and go, okay, I'm going to do it. Just leave me alone, whatever that is that's tapping us, right? So let's look at the definition of what a hero is, just in accordance to the definition of how we usually define it. And there are 3 definitions that came up when I looked this up. The first one is something that I think we relate to quite a bit in these movies, which is, let me read this, in mythology and legend, right? So it's not human, it's not realistic. A man, often of divine ancestry, so this is usually a man, a part man and part God, right? The mother was a god or the father was a god and the opposite spouse was a human, right? Or the opposite partner was a human. All right, who is endowed with great courage and strength and celebrated for his bold exploits and favored by the gods. All right, now the first person that I think of here when I think of a hero is Achilles. Achilles is probably the most famous warrior of the Trojan War. He's the one who killed Hector, who was the prince of Troy. Like, he was the son of King Priam and Queen Hecuba. And Achilles killed him in battle. And this was huge because Hector and Paris were the sons of King Priam and Queen Hecuba. And when Hector was killed, this was devastating. And it was really the beginning of the fall of Troy. I mean, the Battle of Troy, right? And then Achilles, in some stories, it says Achilles was then killed by Paris, the younger brother, by Paris shooting an arrow into the heel of Achilles. And we've heard Achilles heel, Achilles heel. Well, this is where this comes from. But did you know that the reason why Achilles was invulnerable, like his entire persona, his whole person was absolutely impenetrable except one place. We know where it is. It was on his Achilles. That's what the Achilles tendon is named after, actually, right? And the way that he got that vulnerability of on his heel was his mother, who was a god, goddess. She dipped him as an infant, holding on to his heel, into the river Styx to make him this great, great warrior and, completely invulnerable. But because she held on to him right at his Achilles heel, that's why he was vulnerable there. And, when we look at something, as far as like holding this heroic archetype up to just for the gods of our world, we get into trouble. We forget that and the story of Achilles is really that every hero, like Superman with kryptonite, every hero has his weakness, has her weakness. Okay? So it doesn't mean you have to get rid of all your weaknesses or all your fears in order to be a hero or heroine, but it means you have to meet them, you have to face them, you have to live with them. All right? I'll get more into that in a second. The second definition is a person, all right, so we got to the human part, a person noted for feats of courage or nobility of purpose, especially one who has risked or sacrificed his or her life. And then we've got a third superficial definition. I think it's super superficial. A person noted. So this is somebody who is lauded, who is given credence. So we have no idea what it's like to be in someone else's shoes, right? We have no idea. A person noted, so praised for a special achievement in a particular field. Ooh, we're getting a little into slippery ground here. And it even says a synonym for this is celebrity. So this is where we kind of venture into the trap of projecting this, what we think is a superhuman quality, the inner hero or heroine, onto others, and we forget about embodying that ourselves. That is something where, we hear in a lot of different religions talk about false idol worship, and we go, oh, yeah, whatever, money, fame, whatever. But this is why it is so critical, and it has the depth of the teaching of beware of worshiping false idols. It doesn't mean like, or God's going to get angry because his ego is going to get bruised. No, this is for our own embodiment of our sovereignty, our ability to embody the strength that we all have the capacity. Yeah, you watching, I'm talking to you as well, and talking to myself, right? We all have this capacity, but are we willing to face our fears? Are we willing to do what scares us? Are we willing to suffer ostracization from our family and friends? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. So when we're watching these movies and we're like, okay, what's the purpose of the hero? In these movies, it's to save the day, right? It's to save the day. It's, and it's like these superhero, who doesn't want superhero strength or be able to like scale a building like Superman or be able to fly? I mean, some people who might have a fear of flight might be like, I don't want that, right? But what's the purpose of the hero in these movies? The purpose is to save the day, right? To come through and to save from some evil force. The hero wouldn't exist without the evil force, without the villain. So as we look more internally in our own lives and how do we extract that hero, how do we call her out of us, that heroine, right? Or the hero within us, we have to say, what is the villain? What are we afraid of? What is the thing that we are demonizing in our lives? And then we must face our fear. What are we afraid? What's going to happen? What is the true source of the fear? Is it the fear of dying? As I said before, newsflash, it's going to happen. But if we do not make sense of our mortality as a reality, if we do not embrace that, we will never fully live. We will never fully embody that sovereignty in our lives, our gifts in the world. We will never liberate our true sense of self and self-expression. So how do we strengthen the hero archetype? Number one, you gotta recognize that this is personal. That's why I was kind of dismissing those other definitions at the beginning of the talk that are found in the dictionary. We've got one, okay, it's a part human, part god, and a mythical, legendary story, right? Like Achilles, like we spoke about Achilles. Okay, well, how do we embody this hero archetype in our own lives? And then it talked about fame and recognition, celebrity. So the first step into strengthening this muscle within us and strengthening, really calling or channeling that heroic archetype in our lives so that we can do things that we want to do. Stop being so afraid. Live outside. Maybe we resign from the job that we just don't feel like is our thing anymore, or we tackle that project creatively that we're so concerned, like, what is this really going to be well received? Who cares? The first step is to say, this is personal. There is no external measure of your hero. Only you know that. No one knows what it's like to be in your shoes. And if you don't honor that calling within you to do that, to go beyond your comfort zone, you are giving your power away to others in a way that they cannot hold. They can't handle, they can't hold that for you. You need to do it in yourself, within yourself, right? So the first step is recognizing it's personal. There is no external measure of your hero. All right, so turn off all the opinions. That's easier said than done, right? But if you are stopping yourself and you're like, oh God, but what are they going to say? Or I might be fired from my job, or I might risk it all, or I might not make any money from this. All right, so turn off the opinions and the external measures of your worth. Nobody talks about, the kids who are suffering every single day in the hospitals, riding their tricycles down the hallway instead of being outside because they are suffering from cancer, or they need to be in the hospital due to a heart condition. Nobody's talking about those heroes, right? Except if you know somebody who's suffering in that way. So keep it personal. What is your personal kryptonite? What's your personal fear? And then ask yourself, what is your superpower? Because we go more too often to the fear, or what the Achilles heel is, right? We examine, we go, oh, well, I'm afraid of this. Okay. And then we just kind of sit in it. We don't do anything with it. It's because we're not acknowledging our superpower. Your superpower doesn't have to look like superhuman physical strength. Maybe it's your heart. Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's persistence. Maybe you're a great listener. And your time now, you haven't been listening. Or maybe you've been listening to the wrong things. Maybe you've been listening to fear-mongering sources of information, or the people in your voice, the voices in your head that are saying, you're never going to amount to anything. So what is your superpower? You've got so many more than you realize. Maybe your superhuman power, or your superpower, I'll just say superpower because I think being human is heroic if we are fully embodying that human journey. Maybe that is being relatable. Maybe you're relatable. Or maybe you are a great observer. Know your superpower. Keep acknowledging that, because if you dismiss that, you're weakening yourself. You're not allowing yourself to shine. And then when you feel like you found other aspects to yourself that you feel like I'm not strong enough to do this, okay? Like I can do this, and this, but this really scares me. Sometimes the thing to do is think about somebody else, all right? So the first thing is recognize it's a personal journey. Next thing, what's your superpower? What's your fear? That's step 3, okay? And then the fourth is in the areas where you're not feeling like you can do it. You're like, I don't believe in myself. I can't do it. The fourth step is to channel the energy of other archetypes, of other people who are knocking this out of the park. Maybe somebody is doing something that you want to do and you're jealous. You're like, yeah, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. Think about that person and bring them into your energetic field. Like, think about them and be like, okay, I'm going to be like that person when I'm going to have this difficult conversation. I'm going to be like that person. I'm going to utilize that energy. That person's going to inspire me, so that we're not just using weekends like this, remembering fallen heroes, remembering traumatic events just by remembering them, but we are utilizing that memory to incentivize us to be in action where we're afraid, to be in action and stepping outside our comfort zone, so that we can truly be that superhero in our life, superheroine in our life. Channel it. Get inspired. because we are all here supporting one another. We all have our own strengths. We all have our own kryptonites. We all have our own weaknesses, those Achilles heels. So spend some time today just journaling about that. What's your own superhero? Meditate on it as you're taking a walk. What's that own superhero skill that you've got? What's the superpower? What's your Achilles heel? Be sober about it. And then remember to call on that energy when you feel stuck. Okay, guys? Thanks so much for joining me. If you feel like this is helpful, feel free to share it. I know this weekend brings up a lot for a lot of us. But let it incentivize you rather than cripple you, okay? Let it motivate you so that you can truly, fully live this life full out, embodying your true purpose and embodying that incredible potential that none of us have fully embodied yet, all right? Once we're at the end of the line, once we're at the end of the story, we know that's coming for all of us. We know that life is impermanent. We know death is inevitable. But until then, live fearlessly and keep raising the vibration. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. And I'll see you next time. All right. Bye.